Stories from Upanishads.
Retold by Arghya Goswami. Episode 28. Story of King Brihaadratha and Part 2 Moksha. Chapter 1 Maitreya Upanishad. Dear friends, I am back with another new story from Maitreya Upanishad. This Upanishad is one of the minor Upanishad which was composed in Sanskrit. It belongs to one of the 16 Upanishads from Samved and falls under Sannyasa Upanishad, which talks about renunciation. If you remember in Muktika Upanishad, this was mentioned as 29th in serial order of 108 Upanishads. Primarily, this Upanishad states that renunciation or sannyasa and self-knowledge is the path to salvation or moksha. The name Maitreya is derived from the word Mitra, who is a Rigvedic deity. Most probably this Upanishad was written by an ancient Indian scholar by the name Maitreya, and hence it is named as Maitreya Upanishad. According to Patrick Olively, this Upanishad was perhaps written in the medieval period of 1st millennium CE. It was composed at a time when Buddhism was at its peak. Currently, two versions of this book survive, although the thoughts and the messages are essentially the same in both the versions. However, they differ primarily in Chapter 2. The South Indian version of the Maitreya Upanishad is considered to be part of 108 Upanishad. This Upanishad has 3 chapters and each one deals on a specific topic. The first chapter has 4 sections. The first 3 of them are proses and the last section has a prose prologue and 14 verses. This chapter describes a dialogue between the great ascetic King Brihaadratha from Ikshvaaku dynasty or solar dynasty and Sage Saakaayana. Before I begin today's story, a little more on these two principal characters, that is, King Brihaadratha and Sage Saakaayana. King Brihaadratha was from Ikshvaaku dynasty or solar dynasty, which we popularly call as Suryavanshis. He has been referred to as a Maharatha and has been mentioned. Repeat. He has been referred as a Maharatha and is mentioned in Rigveda. I tried to research about this great king as my passion is connecting mythology with historical facts and writings. If you try to search by his name in Ikshvaaku dynasty family tree, most probably you will not find. Then the question will arise, is this name a fictitious character? So I tried to read through many blogs and articles and research papers and finally found an interesting article written by Miss Rupa Bhati, who is an architect and adjunct assistant professor at School of Indic Studies, Institute of Advanced Sciences, Massachusetts, USA. According to her article, which is published in Medium, she tries to find the ancientness of King Brihaadratha. In Maitreya Upanishad, the 4th slok from chapter 1 state some of the names of the kings such as Maruta and Bharata. Shatapatha Brahmana slok 13.5.4.6 also mentioned the name of the king Maruta as Maruta Aviksita or descendant of Aviksit. As per chronology of ancient kings of India, Aviksita and Maruta were descendants of King Drishta, who was brother of Ikshvaaku. As per the research, these kings belong to last glacial maximus or LGM. The LGM is the peak glacial condition of the most recent glacial interval in the geological past, and colloquially this is called the last ice age. And this may have occurred around 26,000 to 19,000 years ago. Brihaadratha is also mentioned in Rigveda as Navavastva Brihaadratha in 10th, 6th and 1st mandalas, and by the astronomical and eustatic evidence of Maitreya Upanishad, the timing of the event was sought upon as 34,500 BCE. So it is assumed that Brihaadratha lived around 34,500 BCE. Another point to note is that most of the Ikshvaaku kings went by some epithet for a long time. Most of these are lost due to deep antiquity. Some epithets emerge which appears to be of Ikshvaaku's. Among them is Trasya Brihaadratha, Triski, Tristu, Trayaruna, Dasharatha. Ratha and Ashva were common suffixes in Ikshvaaku kings' names. Friends, an interesting point to understand is Trayaruna Tasya is an important figure in Rig Veda. According to Shatapatha Brahmana, a connection between Trasya and Ikshvaaku is confirmed by the fact that King Purukusta was an Aikshav, that means belonging to Ikshvaaku. Thus, we can assume that Ikshvaaku's line was originally the line of Purus. According to Zimmer, they were located in the upper Indus area and may have spread further east. Later on, they were connected to Ayodhya. We find an astronomical pointer to specify King Brihaadratha. In Rig Veda, Arjuni is the name of the nakshatra which is called Phalguni elsewhere. Also, Agha is written as Magha in Maitreya Upanishad. So, King Brihaadratha is a very ancient Ikshvaaku king, and we must understand that in the Upanishad, this incident of Brihaadratha is mentioned as an old memory. So, Brihaadratha mentioned in the 10th mandala of Rig Veda and Arjuni Nakshatra provides us the timing of 34,500 BCE. Friends, please don't get confused here between Brihaadratha of Magad dynasty. He is a completely different person from a different time period. In this podcast, I will restrict to the tale of King Brihaadratha from Ikshvaaku dynasty only. I would like to thank Ms. Rupa Bhati for the research she did and published an article in Medium. It is a great example of how there are many works, those are in progress, where researchers are trying to connect the ancient text with historical facts. In fact, my friends, I am also involved in a similar topic from Rig Veda and trying to join the bridge between ancient text and historical facts. Now, let's quickly learn about Sage Saakaayana, who is also known as Jata Saakaayana. He was descendant of Saka, who was ritual authority and contemporary of Shankha in Kathaka Samhita or Charaka Samhita. He was disciple of Rishis Maitri. Friends, so let's start today's story. Today I will retell chapter 1 from Maitreya Upanishad, in which the great Ikshvaaku king Brihaadratha renounced his kingdom in favor of his son and seeks relief from himself from the endless cycle of birth and rebirth. King Brihaadratha thought this body to be impermanent and acquired indifference to the objects around him. Therefore he gave his kingdom to his eldest son and took Vanaprastha and retired to the forest. With hands uplifted and eyes fixed on the sun, he began to perform a severe meditation or tapasya. At the end of 1,000 days of such severe meditation, Sage Saakaayana approached the meditating king. The sage, who was radiating lustre like a scorching fire with his tejas and radiance, and was a knower of Atman, he told the king, "Rise, O king, and choose a boon." The king bowed before the great sage and with folded hands said, "O Lord, I am not Atmavit or knower of Brahman. I know that you are. Please enlighten me about Sattva and state of Sat or Brahman." The sage smiled and replied, "O king, from the great race of Ikshvaaku, your question is difficult to explain. Please do not question me. Ask any other thing you desire." The king touched the feet of the sage and recited, "What is the use of these to me, anything other? Oceans dry up, mountains sink down. Position of Dhruva Nakshatra or pole star change. Earth drowns. Suras or Devas run away from the respective places. This body, which is a result of a sexual intercourse, is without wisdom. What is the use of this body which smells foul with bones, skin, muscle, flesh, marrow, blood, semen, mucus, urine, stool, bad wind, bile, phlegm, and such basic and ill-born impurities? Further, this body is subject to the inborn enemies of kama or lust, krodha or anger, lobha or greed, moha or infatuation, mada or ignorance, bhaya or fear, visada or sorrows, irsha or jealousy, viyoga or separation, anishtha or unsteadfastness, Kusht or leprosy, Pipasa or thirst, Jara or old age, Mrityu or death, Roga or diseases, Shok or grief, and so on. Is such life worthwhile, and what avail of that type of mundane existence? I am drowned like a frog in a dry well. You are my refuge. On hearing this, the sage was pleased and addressed the king. O Maharaja Brihaadratha, bearing the flag of the Ikshvaaku race, you are an Atmagyani. You have done your duty, O descendant of great King Marut. To which the king replied, O Lord, in what way you can describe Atman? To which the sage replied, sound, touch, others, which seems to be artha or wealth, are in fact anartha or evil. The lower self or bhutatma clinging to this never remembers the supreme seat. Through tapas or meditation, one of the three gunas or quality, sattva or righteousness, is acquired. Through sattva, a pure mind is acquired. Through pure mind, Atman or higher self is acquired. Once Atman or higher self is reached, one gets liberation or moksha. The king's eye glittered on hearing this. The sage continued, O king, remember that just as fire without fuel is absorbed into his own womb or source, so is chitta or mind through the destruction of his modification is absorbed into his own source. To a mind that has attained quiescence and truth, and which is not affected by sense objects, the events that occur to it through the bondage of karma is merely unreal. It is chitta alone that is samsara. It should be cleansed with effort. Whatever chitta thinks, of that nature the person becomes. This is an archaic mystery. With purifying of chitta, one makes both good and bad karmas. One whose mind is thus cleansed attains the indestructible bliss through his own self, just as Chitra becomes united with an object that comes across it. So, why should one not be released from the bondage when one is united with Brahman? One should meditate in the middle of the lotus of the heart, Parameshwara, the highest Lord, who is the witness to play of buddhi, who is the objects of supreme love, who is beyond the reach of mind and speech, who has no beginning or end, who is Sat alone, being the nature of light only, who is beyond meditation, who can neither be given up nor grasped by the mind, who is without equal or superior, who is the permanent, who is of unshaken depth, who is light for darkness, who is all pervading, changeless, vehicleless, and who is wisdom of the nature of moksha or salvation. The sage paused for a bit and continued, I am he, that Paramatma who is the eternal, the pure, the liberated, the nature of wisdom, the true, the subtle, and the all-pervading, the secondless, the ocean of bliss, and the one that is superior to Pratyaghatma, or the individual soul. There is no doubt about it. How will any calamity or bondage approach me when I am depending on my own bliss in my heart? Who have put to shame the ghost of desires, who look upon this universe but as a jugglery, and who am not associated with anything. The ignorant, with their observance of the caste and orders of life, obtain their fruits according to their karmas. Men who have given up all the duties of caste, etc., rest content in the bliss on their own. Distinctions of caste and orders of life have divisions among them and have beginning and end, and are very painful. Therefore, having given up all the identification with sons and as well as the body, one should dwell in that endless and most supreme bliss. This is how King Brihaadratha attained the knowledge of Atman from the sage Saakaayana. Friends, we will continue chapter 2 in my next episode from Maitreya Upanishad, in which I will tell you about how sage Maitreya went up to Kailash and asked Mahadev about the mysteries of highest tattva. Please do like, share, subscribe and download my podcast Stories from Upanishads, which is available on multiple podcast streaming platform. And also please do visit my website https www.storiesfromupanishads.com and listen to my earlier podcast episodes and read some of the interesting blogs available in it. Also, from now onwards, Stories from Upanishad will be also available in his YouTube channel. I'll provide the link to the YouTube channel below in the show note. And as I tell you every time, please do write to me in my email arghyathings@gmail.com. That is ARGHYATHINKS@gmail.com. I look forward from hearing from you. Until then,
Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
Source content collected from various books on Upanishads, such as Messages of the Upanishads by Swami Ranganathananda, Brihadaranyaka Upanishad by Swami Madhavananda, 8 Upanishads from Advaita Ashrama, Upanishads.org, Vedas and Upanishads for Children by Rupa Pai, and several other write-ups and thoughts on Upanishads. Background music is sourced from various royalty-free music sources, Apple Loops, Internet Archives with non-commercial 4.0 international license. Om Shanti chants are from YouTube source Gaia Sanskrit. This podcast was conceptualized, scripted, narrated, and audio designed by Arghya Goswami.